Kia ora, good morning. So I'm documenting this dream. I've been up about, let me have a look, 20 minutes, half an hour. I've just made my coffee, fed the birds, made my offerings, obviously, to the gods. When I feed the birds, I'm making offerings to the gods because something just happened in my dream that is bigger than anything I've ever dreamt about before. And I'm trying, I don't need to make sense of it, but it's like my last few dreams over the last few weeks have been so emotionally draining and exhausting and fascinating and exciting. All the ones that I've been having about Amber giving me a heads up in regards to get ready, you're going to go through an emotional roller coaster, but when you come out the other side, you're going to be cleansed and purified in a way that changes your life forever. Because a lot of my dreams with her involve water, which means emotions and intuition and all that. And her and I have a story together that I was reminding her of when she was dying about when we were kids and we were living in Australia. We were swimming in the beach and this helicopter was flying overhead and all the people, it's like all of a sudden we were the only two people in the beach, in the water, in the ocean. And this man came swimming up on a surfboard and he said, "Excuse me, lady." I was like 15, 16, 16 maybe. He said, "Excuse me, miss, that's it. If I was you, I'd get out of the water." And I said, "Why?" And he said, "Because there's this 3 metre hammerhead shark behind you." And when I turned around, we could see the fin of the shark sort of heading in our direction, but not towards us, sort of thing. And then next thing I knew, it was like I was running on water. I ran so fast, by the time I got to the shore, I remembered I'd left Amber in the water. she was like, "I can't believe you left me in the water." And then she went to school the next day and told everybody how my Auntie Debbie left me in the water to get eaten by a shark. Just making a joke of it and that. But yeah, it was. So Amber and I have always connected through water. She was an incredible swimmer. We both were incredible swimmers. At school, we won awards for our swimming. So Amber and I connect through water a lot. When she was alive and now that she's not. So this dream is, I've never had anything like it before. So you have to bear with me because I'm still grieving. And I said to my sister yesterday, she keeps bloody turning up in my dreams. And it makes me emotional, it makes me cry. But then I realised, last night I needed to hear something. Usually when I have to make sense of something or to process emotions and that, I look up sermons and I listen to sermons and I listen to different preachers and that. I'm not a Christian, but sometimes these preachers and that, they offer sage advice. And hang on, excuse me. God, I'm an emotional wreck at the moment, but I was listening to a sermon about grief because I've had a lot to process. In a very short amount of time, I lost my boys. the love of my life and my baby girl. Amber wasn't just my niece, you know, we were kids together, we grew up together, we did everything together, we were inseparable. She was my best friend, she was my little sister, I loved her like a daughter. She was the one female in my life who was probably the closest to me, next to my own mum, and more than my own mum, because Amber and I never had any kind of falling out or argument or fight or anything like that. We just got each other, you know. She was just, I don't know. The only problem we ever had was when Chris got involved, my ex. But this is poignant. There's a reason why I'm talking about this, because in the sermon, you know, he was saying, like, it's okay to not be okay. And I'm always the strong one. I'm always the one that everyone goes to. I'm always the one that gives the advice and has the answers and stuff like that. But what do you do when you're the one that's suffering? When you're the one that's feeling the loss? And I'm a high priestess. This isn't about why with this. And, you know, I understand death, I understand the afterlife, I understand how we choose our own lives and, you know, all of that sort of thing. But this isn't about it's unfair, and I mean, it is unfair in that, but, you know, this isn't it's just, she's gone. I'm never going to see her again in real life. I'm never going to make those memories with her that we were planning on making before she got sick. And, you know, grief sucks. It's horrible. Even when you're someone like me, you still hurt, because I was sitting here to teach people how to love. I have to love the children of the world. Well, not have to love the children of the world. I'm here to love the children of the world, you know. My father sent me here to teach people the importance of love and why it matters, and why it matters to make the right choices in love, and what you are expected to accept and not accept when it comes to love, because who you give your heart to matters, because they mould and shape the person that you become on a psychological level. These people change your world. Who you love changes your entire world. And I loved her to the core of my soul. She was a part of me in ways that, like, I watched her be born, and I sat with her when she died. And that's a lot to take on board. Like, I imagine how my sister and brother-in-law feel. They lost their baby, and so did I. So I need to talk about this dream, because the bloody bitch is making me grieve. She's making me get it all out. And she's saying, don't hold it in, don't hold your grief in. It's okay to grieve. You don't have to be strong all the time, Auntie. Just grieve, get it out, because it's going to lead you to magic on the other side. So, you know, yesterday I had the dream about stepping through the portal, and the day before that I had the dream about stepping through the portal. Well, this dream, I was actually passing through the portal. In the last two dreams, it's like I stepped through the portal and Lake Geneva was on the other side. But this dream was about what happened between stepping through the portal and getting to Lake Geneva on the other side. And I was walking through water. If you imagine two portals mirror imaging each other, facing each other, the gap between the first portal and the second portal was made up of liquid. And my dream this morning was about me walking through the liquid. But in the dream, I was in Atlantis, or what looked like Atlantis. It was an underwater world, like the Little Mermaid, but Atlantis, or like I was in an old ancient Sumerian city or Minoan city or something like that that was underwater. But I wasn't swimming. I wasn't, you know, is it the Phantom Menace? Star Wars The Phantom Menace, the one with, oh, I can't even remember his name. Yes, Amisa, blah, blah, blah. Remember that lizard thing with the long dog ears that nobody liked? I can't remember his bloody name. And he was with, he was like a frog thing with long ears, and he was tall and skinny, and he was an idiot, and nobody liked him in the movie. And he hung around with like Liam Neeson and all that, and they went and hid under the water, and there was that they lived in an underwater world that was in domes. It was like that, but there weren't domes. Like we could walk around this city. It wasn't even a city. It was like the world underwater, but we weren't swimming. We were perfectly grounded in the water. It's like it was, we weren't floating. We didn't have any trouble walking around. We lived in a world that just happened to be underwater. There were cars, there were shops, there were lights, you know, there were houses. It was just like that. But this city was ancient. When I was walking down the street, walking through the town on these cobbled roads with cars going beside me, and you know, these old street lights and that, looking up at these massive towering ancient buildings, just like Atlantis, just like Sumeria, just like they were ancient. It was an ancient world. Like Greece before it crumbled and all of that. And the buildings were huge. They were huge. Like, what's it called, Tartaria? It was like that, but underwater. And I was walking through the city centre of this ancient town that was in an ancient world underwater. There were people walking dogs. It was like a blend of the old and the new, the blend in the modern and the ancient in this world, perfectly formed underwater. And above me I could see sharks and whales and fish and all of that. There were shops open, and it must have been about maybe 4 or 5 o'clock at night in the winter time, because everything was still dark and cold. And you know when you know when sort of like in winter when it gets how it gets dark early, and then all the street lights and shop lights come on, and there's just something really beautiful about it. There's just something really beautiful about it. It sets such a beautiful setting, especially if it snows. And I was taking a stroll down this cobbled road through the middle of town, because the cars weren't allowed to drive through this particular part of town. And it started getting harder to walk through the water, like as you imagine it would if you could walk underwater and not float to the top. But my heart started racing, because I knew what was about to happen was going to be really big, but I was not afraid, but I was afraid, because I wasn't sure what the hell was happening. And even in my dream, I remember thinking, like, what the hell's happening? Like, this is weird even for me. And then I got to the other side of the city, and there were these two massive statues, which is why I keep saying Samaria. On either side, it was like I was walking out of the city gates that were being guarded by these two massive, ginormous statues of these two women, and I knew they were women, but they looked like cats with wings. And the only way I could leave was to walk through these two statues, and I was too afraid to do it, just like on Never Ending Story. Not that I was afraid of being, turned to dust or killed or anything. It's like I knew I was going to be getting a lecture, and I didn't want to hear what they had to say. But Amber and Prince Charming were waiting on the other side with my boys, and they were saying, "Come on, come on, come on, you can do this. Come on, you can do it. Just do it." And I'm like, oh, it's like I was being evaluated, and I didn't want to hear the evaluation. But I did it, and what I was told, it's like I was talking to my mum. It's like my mum had showed up, and like the woman on the other side was like my grandmother. My grandmother's. My mum was on one side and my grandmother's were on the other. And when I walked through, it's like I was suspended, like it's suspended animation, like I couldn't move. They were forcing me to stay in position so that they could evaluate me. And what they said was, now you've learned your lesson, choose wisely. Because just as important as the ancestors who created your sons, who you create your daughter with is just as important. It's like the women in my family, and I've kind of had a dream like this before, were giving me advice about the man I'm going to marry. Choose someone who is healed or isn't. Well, what Mum said was, choose the one who isn't afraid to work on himself to heal. He doesn't have to be healed as long as he's prepared to heal. Choose someone who, if he makes a commitment to you, he sticks with it. Choose someone who is loyal and faithful. Choose someone who chooses you above all others in his life. Choose someone, if he makes plans to create a family with you, he stays with you to help you create and raise that family. Choose someone who puts in the effort. Choose someone who isn't afraid to show you how he feels just to you. If to no one else, just you. The connection you have with him is so important that who I have my daughter to, he's going to be who she looks for in love. And because of the role that she's going to play, like the ninth element, she has to have parents who teach her to find the same kind of love in her husband that we found in each other, that's going to be passed on to her more importantly than the boys, because men process emotions differently. she's the nurturer. The daughters are the ones who nurture. The daughters are the ones who are born to feel, because we're the nurturers. We grow the seeds that the men plant inside us, and what we sprout from that creates all new worlds on their own. And what they create when they create their worlds all on their own is going to matter to our bloodline. At this point, my boys don't want children. One of them never wants to have anything to do with women, and the other one may possibly be bi. He used to want kids, but so I have to pour everything that I've learned, everything that I know about love and marriage into this child that I'm going to have. And it's like they're helping me manifest her. And they were evaluating the decisions I'd made and the husbands I'd had before. And it was all based on because they were good looking, because they were, like they were new and different and rebellious and toxic. And I knew the toxic behaviour before I married them, but I married them anyway. They were racist, they were wanting to kill me, all that sort of thing, and I married them anyway. They cheated on me, and it's like my boys are protective of me, so my boys, when they do get into relationships, I know that they'll be protective of their partners because it's how they were raised to protect their mum, but they're still young enough to learn the lessons about how not to be like their father. They can make the conscious effort not to be like their father because they're smarter and they're old enough, and they're the men, and men govern the mind, whereas women govern the heart. So who I have this child to, who I raise my family with, who I build my empire with, it has to matter, because in this new phase of my life, it's all about my empire being ruled by the heart, which is why when I had my Snow White Rose Red dream and I was Snow White, and I'm convinced it was Amber was Rose Red, Roisin, Rosemarie, I crossed the water into the forest, and he was waiting at the end and handed me that rose. He was handing me healing. Roses symbolise like healing and purification, and roses are antibacterial and like antiseptic. They're a flower that can fix a lot of ailments. And it's not to say that I'm having a daughter to fix my broken heart, but him and I together are going to heal a lot of damaged children while they're still young enough to be fixed without it affecting their psychological mind. It's a purpose that him and I have been put in charge. Remember, I was talking about Abraham and Sarah. It's an obligation, well, not an obligation, it's a role that him and I have been chosen to play by our ancestors, in a way where what I create and what he helps support me creating is going to heal a lot of broken hearts and mend a lot of broken minds, because together him and I are the like left and right eye of the universe. In physics, X and Y, we're the balance of the role models as you know, when they grow up and they fall in love and get married, they're going to look to us. I want a marriage just like Debbie and whoever, Prince Charming. I want a marriage just like Snow White and Prince Charming. And we'll be that role model for them. We'll give them stability. That's what love is. That's what a loving relationship is. He loves her just as much as what she loves him, and I'm not going to settle for anything less than a relationship just like Snow White and Prince Charming. And so, you know, my mum and my grandmothers married men who were unfaithful, who were abusive, who were neglectful, who were absent, who, you know, when they were home, they all drank, big drinkers. Although my dad wasn't an abusive drunk or anything like that, he was when he was drunk, that's when you saw his true emotions. My dad wasn't a bad dad. He was in the army, he was away, but he was unfaithful to my mum. You know, his adultery, it affected the family a lot, you know, so I need to be with men who aren't like that. I need to have men who have the good part of my dad and not the bad part of my dad. I need to be the woman that's the good part of my mum and not the bad part of my mum. You see what I mean? So this dream about me being under the water but stepping through the portal was all about me dealing with my emotions, to do with everything relationship wise, all the men I've married, all the men I almost married, like the ones I was engaged to and that as well, and learning from those mistakes, because I must be about to physically meet him. Like, he must be about to become an actual physical presence in my life, and they're preparing me for him so that there's no baggage, there's no grief, there's no resentment or animosity. I mean, there's not anyway. I'm, like I said when I recorded my dream yesterday, I'm grateful. Like, now that Amber, now it's been explained to me, I get it, I understand. It's not that at all. But from this, you know, from what's happening right now, it's like now I'm dealing with the grief of loss, because I've been so busy focused on surviving everything that I've had to survive because of what the men in my past have put me through. Now I get to focus on the loss, because these men took Amber from me. I wasn't able to fly home to New Zealand and say goodbye to her in person. I never got to hold her like I wanted to because of Chris and Martin and everything they did. I lost the love of my life because of lies and, you know, fabricated bullshit and fake accounts and fake identities and manipulation and all that sort of stuff. But I lost my boys, the people that had my heart. I lost the people who were the biggest part of my heart, who made my heart what it was. But then when I started realizing that Switzerland was where I needed to go, it started mending my heart and putting the puzzle pieces back in where, you know, my mum used to say, I wore my heart on my sleeve and I let the world take bites. And it's like when I realised Switzerland was where I needed to be, those bites were being replaced. They were being put back and my heart was being sewed up and healed. The missing pieces, the chunks that were taken out of me were being replaced simply by me realising that Switzerland was where I wanted to call home. Switzerland was home. So yesterday in that dream where I landed, where she hugged me and I landed on Lake Geneva, it's almost like Lake Geneva was where I was walking under in the dream I had this morning, but there was a city under it. And I had to get from one end to the other in order to be with Prince Charming. But under the water was like this ancient, like Atlantis or Sumeria or somewhere, you know what I mean? And it's like I was getting advice from the women of my bloodline who were preparing me, who are preparing me to meet my Prince Charming, the love of my life, my the one. And they were giving me like a maintenance check. it's like I was being it's like I was being put through some kind of cleansing ritual. Right, you've been through all of that. Now deal with the emotions, walk through the gates, and don't look back. Don't look back on the past. All of us women have come to support you and mend you and heal you and give you the advice that you need to prepare you for what's coming, because you have to understand who I have my child to, who I marry next. We are going to change the world in a way that no two couples since the Bible will change the world, because we're going to be healing thousands of children who go on to become healthy versions of Vincent van Gogh and Kurt Cobain and Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart and Charles Dickens and that, the creative minds who make such an impact in the history of, in the world of like music and writing and invention and design and art and all of that, but healthy versions, healed versions where they're not suffering and they're not tormented and they're not hypochondriacs or heavy drinkers or taking drugs and, self-abusing and sick all the time and melancholic and lamenting. And we're not going to be raising any of that. We're going to be healing them. We're going to be the soothing balm, just like roses are the soothing balm, but without any of the thorns. And so the man that does this with me needs to be someone who, he's not just supportive from a distance, he's standing right there by my side, so that we take centre stage together and the whole world knows they're a couple. They're husband and wife. We want that kind of marriage. We want to, why can't, well, that's what I want. But not in a Tom Hanks, Rita Wilson, behind closed doors, he's secretly hurting children kind of way, because she's on the list as well. But in an actual, like Abraham and Sarah kind of way, where our marriage, where our relationship, legends are told of the story of how we got together and the shit that we had to go through in order to be together, and what we survived in order to be together, and the work that we did on ourselves and the work we did together in order to be together, because it's not just about how much we deeply truly love each other, but how much we care about the world that children are going to be growing up in. Choose someone who has the exact same values as you. Choose someone who cares about the future of children just as much as you do. Choose someone who isn't afraid to fight for you. Choose someone who's proud to know you. Choose someone who's proud that they're the ones that God has put your heart in his hands, and he's proud of that, and he will do anything to make sure that whatever hurts me, he heals. Because my mum and my nanas and that didn't have that. And so it's like they were saying, don't make the mistakes we made, because you can't, Roisin Marie can't be born of a broken heart, because she's taking the world, once I'm no longer in it, into a direction where we're going to be raising generations of couples who marry for love and raise children because they want to, because it's like the ultimate sign of that love. There won't be, women just having abortions because it's an inconvenience or anything like that. It'll be women. She's going to be helping build a world where women have children with men that they love, where there's no mistakes, accidental pregnancies. Like the boy's dad forces women to have abortions because he threatens to kill everyone and everything if they don't. Martin has like 1,000 kids to 900 different women. Do you know what I mean? So choose the man who wants to have a baby with you and will stick with you to the end of time, by your side, your mirror image, your shadow, because he has the same exact values as you. And that's what they were saying. They were imparting their wisdom. Don't make the same mistakes we made. Deal with your emotions, deal with your grief, deal with your loss. Get it all out of you, wash it all out, let it all pass through you, i.e., walking from one portal to the other, so that it can cleanse and heal you. Get it out of your system. Because what's coming on the other side of this is cello music. And I say that because when I was released, when I was no longer in suspended animation and I was allowed to walk, it's like the water, the current was then like pulled me through. And it reminded me of my dream, my Let the Sunshine dream, where I got to the bottom of the mountain and the man woman voice said, one more hill to climb, but don't worry, we're going to make it easy for you. And it's like the ground started moving like an escalator. So I was moving up the hill without having to walk. And then this buffalo came with all the children and my boys on its back and turned into a man at the top of the hill. And he fell to my feet and started crying and said, I'm sorry I took so long, but I had to. I'm sorry I took so long, but I had to clear the path so that it was safe for you, or I had to get you justice first, or it was something like that. And then he fell to his feet and he asked me to marry him. And my boys were like, yeah, go on, mum, do it. Like, it's okay, just do it. So he's someone that my boys know. Or he goes to my boys first, or because it's like when I get to him, my boys are already there with him. He's already got my boys with him. So I don't understand. Well, I mean, I do, but anyway. And then I got to the hill and I said that speech about like telling the world the new world that was coming. But the world I was describing was like the 1950s. But I was saying about how factories will open up again and we'll go back to, kids having jobs where they mow the lawns and have like milk rounds and all of that sort of thing. And I was giving this speech to the world about the future that's coming in the new world that's based on tradition and traditional values. You know how the World Economic Forum, how their plan is to break up the family unit? Well, in the new world, the family units come back together where the mum and dad stay together, but they marry for love. They fix their broken marriages because they love each other, because they understand the importance of we've had a family together, we made that commitment, so now we're going to do the work and work on our shit and we're going to stay together because our children need us to be role models for them, like that sort of thing. People making better decisions in who they marry and have kids with. That's the new world that's coming. But where we go back to a world where we can leave our doors unlocked and our windows open overnight, just like I could when I was a kid. We never locked our doors. We could go all night and all day with our windows open in the summertime and even in the winter for fresh air and that, and not have to, we didn't fear intruders or people trying to kidnap our kids or anything like that. And that's the world that him and I are going to be a part of, and that's the world that him and I are going to be creating together. And when the current was pulling me through, so I was kind of like floating but being dragged, but not in a bad way. It was actually very, it's like the pressure had been taken off me. I like my body wasn't aching. I wasn't fighting it. And that's, don't fight it, Debbie. Don't fight it. Just let the current take you to where you're meant to be. And where I was being pulled to was Lake Geneva. Like I was being pulled up and out of the water because I was following the cello music. I was following the music. And of course, for obvious reasons, cellos for me is representative of Yodok because he's from Switzerland and he's the one that first planted the seed in me to contemplate moving to Switzerland in the first place. I would never have even thought about or considered Switzerland if he hadn't have come into my life. You know, we were going to collaborate together and all of that before all hell broke loose, but he planted that seed and now it's grown into the Royal Oak Tree Inn, you know, my hotel that I have inside my foundation is going to be called the Royal Oak Tree Inn. The Royal Oak Tree being representative of the Callahans, my last name, planting those seeds. So now, whenever because like, I grew up, most of you, I don't know how old any of you are, but I grew up watching a TV show called Fame. And it was one of the greatest. I've got the soundtrack on my Spotify, and my sister Laurie bought the album, and my sister Erin and I, and Amber, we were obsessed with this album, and we knew all the songs. So whenever we'd have a drink, we'd sing the Fame songs and all of that. Like Fame was a huge influence on me, obviously, because I'm building a creative art school myself. But we're not just going to be dealing with like ballet dancers, singers and musicians and that. We're going to be doing it all: art, filmmaking, making games. But Fame inspired me in such a way. And there was a character in it called Laurie Singer, and she played the cello. And I fell in love with the cello as a kid because of Laurie Singer. So I love the cello. It's one of my favourite musical instruments. But I also love the piccolo and the oboe. I used to like the saxophone, but the saxophone kind of annoys me now. It grates on me. But I love a piccolo and an oboe, you know, that bum 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 bum. I love it. I love it. If I was a musical instrument, I'd be a piccolo or an oboe. So yeah, I was following the cello music. And cello music to me, when you look at what the totem for a cello is, it's identical to the buffalo. Buffalo totem and cello totem mean the exact same thing. So, yeah. So it's taking me to my art school. It's taking me to Fame. Because remember, Fame was set in New York, and I was originally going to set up my the Art of Creation Foundation in New York. So this dream that I had is talking about the men from my past, the seeds I planted from my past, the emotional turmoil they put me through, and what I've learned as a result, so that going forward I don't make those same mistakes, and that I take the fertile seeds that were planted, like my foundation and that, and plant them in fertile soil. Take the healthy seeds, take the good things that I created from my experiences and plant them in fertile soil. That's what it means. So I had it, yeah, letting the dam burst, letting myself go there. Don't hold back, get it all out, let it wash over me and cleanse me, because when I come out the other side, I'm going to be able to plant the seeds that weren't allowed to grow because they were in infertile soil and unhealthy, toxic soil. They were never ever going to let me grow what I was planning to build around those men who were pretending to want to help me grow them because they were toxic and poisonous. They were bad seeds. They in themselves were bad seeds and unhealthy and fertile soil. So make sure that when I plant these seeds going forward in fertile soil, because obviously they keep saying that Switzerland's going to be the fertile soil, that it's with someone who is going to help me till the fields and plant the seeds and water the garden and plough and harvest, you know, not just there at the end after I've done all the work, but as part of the process of planting the seeds and tending to the crops and, you know, harvesting them. Because what I harvest from that is going to feed villages. Like my Te Whiti dream. After I got hit by the after I got hit by the shooting star and it knocked me to the ground and I died. Oh my God, that was Amber in my Te Whiti dream. Remember, I got hit by the stars and it killed me. And when I rose, I turned into Mother Earth, and I had baskets of like seeds and wheats and grains and all that, and fruit and nuts and vegetables, like baskets of them. And all the people, like the men and women and children, came out of the forests, and I was giving them all the stuff from my baskets, and they were happy, and we had this big party. And then at the end of it, it was like my daughter's first birthday party. We were having like a party in the garden, and it was her first birthday. Oh, Amber was the star. I had that dream like 4 years ago. It'll be on my X somewhere. I lose my Instagram page today, but I all the stuff that I wanted from it, all the stuff that mattered, I found copies of, and all the important parts of the last conversations I had with Amber, I have copies of. I found copies of them scattered around with Nephi and Erin and all of that, and YouTube videos, and so that's all that mattered. I don't care about the rest. I just didn't want to lose her, but I haven't, because luckily I saved her in parts of other places. So I don't care. They can choke on my Instagram page. It's not important to me. When I get out of here, I'm going to be taking all my social media down anyway. And my social media will only be for my you know, advertising for the auditions. Hey, we're going to be in Frankfurt on the blur of this, and we're going to be in Zurich, and we're going to be in Hanover, and you know, whatever, advertising for the auditions, and obviously anything to do with the foundation. So I'll be taking it down anyway, so it doesn't bother me. I've only had my social media to put me out in the world, looking for investors, also to help me get justice, to document my investigations, to get justice, that sort of thing. And once I get justice and I get to leave, I'm taking it all down anyway. So Amber was the star in the star. She was one of the stars. She's the one that hit me and knocked me to the ground. It's like I'm having dreams of the past and dreams of the present all end up being the same thing. How is that even possible? So, been on one hell of a ride. So I am allowing myself to grieve for Amber. I'm not going to apologise for the fact that I lost pretty much the most important female who ever crossed my path in my life. I'm allowing myself to go there. It's not healthy to not cry when you're hurting. It's just important that when you do cry, you do it in front of people that are going to hold your heart in a healthy way while you do it. We all grieve, we all suffer losses, but how we react to it and how good we are to ourselves. I was such a mess yesterday. I couldn't eat, but I knew I had to. I couldn't even cook. I just couldn't. I just didn't have it in me. So I got myself a takeout, and it's still sitting here beside me. I've been picking at it, but yeah, it's just when I hurt, I can't eat. But it's necessary. When you go hungry, it kills unhealthy cells in your body. As long as, when you start feeling weak again and that you can start eating, going through the keto process, it regenerates cells, it kickstarts cells. And I swear to you, with every fibre of my being at 53, my body is preparing itself to conceive a child. If I end up having a boy, so be it. But it means that she's chosen to come back as a boy. But I'll know who she really is. Because I swear to you, she's telling me to get ready. I'm manifesting her. I'm manifesting the man of my dreams, and I'm manifesting her. And they're both about to become a constant in my life. My Prince Charming. I'm his Snow White. And it's funny because in that Te Fiti dream it started snowing. And snow in dreams, believe it or not, snow in dreams, especially when children are involved, and I don't think I've ever had a dream where there weren't children playing in the snow, but snow in dreams means the purity and innocence of childhood. The magic and the wonder and the purity and innocence of childhood, that's what snow means in dreams. So I've done the work on myself, and now the women have stepped forward to say, this is what you need to do now. This is our advice. Take it with you going forward and put all that love into your children and teach it to my daughter. And I swear to you, I know I keep saying if I have to take hormones and stuff like that, I will, but I swear to you, I'm pretty sure I get pregnant naturally on my own. I haven't gone through menopause or anything, but I'm pretty sure I get pregnant on my own and quite fast. Oh Lord, I hope I'm not pregnant before we get married, because I don't want children out of wedlock. I didn't have my boys out of wedlock. That's important to me. I always said I'd never live with a man out of marriage. I'd never get married under the age of 21, and I'd never have children out of wedlock. I I was right. Uh, I lived with a man out of marriage, Chris, the father, but we were married by the time we had the boys. And I need to get my divorce from Marston before, well, I want an annulment because I want him removed from my life. I want him erased from the records. I want no acknowledgement of my ever having anything to do with him. Um, so I can't get married until he's removed, but yeah, but whatever, it's whatever it is. If I could, though, it would be nice if we were married before I had her. I think it's important that the children have their father's last name, but Chris isn't a last name that I want my kids to have. Black. Chris Black. He doesn't deserve my boys. His ancestors made my boys, not him. He had some noble ancestors, and they created my sons, not him. He was the gateway. So, yeah. Follow the cello brick road. That's what I should call this dream. Follow the cello brick road. Oh, God. So, yeah, so that was a dream. So, bloody hell. So, I've just been through some rite of passage. Now I'm exhausted. Like, I'm just like, oh, I'd give anything to just have a hot bath. I just want to soak in a hot bath. And then I want to get into some warm jammies and sit by a fire and snuggle with a blanket and watch really awesome. I'm maybe in the mood for some animated movies. Some old animated movies. Or, like, I feel like to watch old Disney movies. Pete's Dragon, which is originally how I was thinking of doing the Amber Rose movie. You know how Mary Poppins and Pete's Dragon were half live action, half animated? Like the dragon was a cartoon, but Pete was a boy. I was thinking of doing Amber Rose like that. But yeah, I feel, Mary Poppins. I'd love to watch Mary Poppins right now. I don't have a TV or Wi-Fi or anything, so, and I wouldn't give Disney my money. I wouldn't give any of them my money, especially Paramount, because they stole my movie. So yeah, I feel like to watch old animated movies, Snow White and Cinderella and Beauty and the Beast and The Legend of Ichabod Crane and all of those. Yeah, I'd be having a Disney day. Back before we knew Disney was evil. And then it would inspire me, because I haven't come up with a story for the Amber Rose. So it might inspire me. Sit under a blanket, drink percolated coffee, and eat homemade oatmeal and raisin cookies, and then when I was feeling better, play some video games with the boys and kick their ass. I say that, I can barely work the controllers. But they were teaching me how to play video games, because I want to know how to work the controllers and that, so that when our games get released, I can sit and play our video games with my boys. And that's what they were teaching me. They were teaching me how to work the controllers. and we were playing Doom and oh God, what's it called? Bollocks, I can't remember. I can see it in my head. That narcissistic abuse, short-term memory loss thing. I'll remember it. No, is it not Bioshock? Oh, I'll remember it. I will remember it. So anyway, I'm going to go now and have another coffee. But yeah, what a dream, what a process. I've been through a purification ritual, and I've let you watch every step of the way. Through the tears, the laughter, the trying to figure out the codes. Some of these codes are hard to figure out, but it's all part of the ascension process. So the dream I had this morning was me stepping between one portal to the other, which would make sense because I posted what I posted last night at 000. And I said, oh, it's the portal. So the dream I had this morning was the middle zero, me stepping through the portal, 3 portals. So there we go. I can't help falling in love is because I had a dream many, 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 many years ago before I'd even married Chris, where Elvis Presley was walking me up the aisle and he was singing, I can't help falling in love with you. But I'm thinking I should call it Follow the Cello Brick Road. Because it just, like it just now, the cello just reminds me of Switzerland. Like I can't not think of Switzerland every time I think of the cello. And it's where I'm being told the cross heals the heart. So there we go. Stop fighting it. Follow your heart. Stop fighting it. Plant the seeds in fertile ground. So I'm going to go. I'll speak to you later. Have a beautiful day. Ka kite anō. And I'll see you on the other side, Roisin Marie.